Hey guys, it's the Diecast Man here, bringing you another video. Today what we're going to be doing is doing a little comparison type video on the 1/18th scale Lamborghini Murcielago Roadster made by Maisto and the 1/18th scale Lamborghini Murcielago Roadster made by Motormax. So I thought that I'd kind of make this video to maybe kind of educate some of you that are, maybe new to collecting or things like that, and, just to kind of show you the differences and the similarities and things from the Maisto and the Motormax. Also, sorry I haven't uploaded a video in a while. I've just been super busy, and I don't know what the future looks like for cars, new models coming in, but we will just have to see, and only time will tell. So it's kind of be sort of a little bit of review and comparison, more of a comparison. Just want to show you guys, the differences between the two to just kind of educate you maybe a little bit better on these type of things. So without further ado, let's jump right into it. So, starting off here, I wasn't exactly sure how I was going to do this video, but I think it works best if I do it like this. So we'll start off here on the front with the headlight detail. So keep in mind, this is the Maisto, and this is the Motormax, and just right off the bat I want to say that Motormax is notoriously terrible in terms of quality. They are just like pretty much the worst that I can think of. And Maistos are, average run-of-the-mill type of things, but I really do actually like Maistos a lot. So the Maisto headlights, you can see right off the bat, do actually look better. They have slightly more depth and more detail to them, but they are very similar. The only thing that I think is different is just the coloring is slightly different, and maybe the bulbs. But to the naked eye, at first glance, they probably look exactly the same. But trust me, they are slightly different. Both do have the Lamborghini embossed logos there. That looks nice. And then we get down to the bottom here. And of course there's no real mesh on either one of these cars. But the mesh here is nicely integrated into the bottom right there. And so that looks good. And it does have a little bit of texture to it. And it flows pretty nicely. And then the Motormax, on the other hand, this is just terrible. There's huge gaps right here, and these are just like blocks of I don't even know, blocks of plastic that have some sort of like metal mesh sticker on them. It's really bizarre, and it just looks absolutely terrible. So that's the front, essentially. The windshields are virtually exactly the same. This one has matte black, and this one has a gloss black. But they are virtually exactly the same, and the same thing goes to the mirrors. The mirrors are virtually identical. Maybe the Maisto looks a tad bit nicer, has a little more cladding there, but these are also matte black to match the windshield, and these are gloss black to match that windshield. So moving on to the side here, we'll just start off with the front of the side, if that makes any sense. Just taking a look at the wheels, it's going to be hard to compare them because they do actually have different wheels, but we have a little reflector there. And then just this Lamborghini emblem there in the center, and then the disc and caliper is one piece. It does say Lamborghini on there, so that looks pretty good. And then we move on to the Motormax. This is where things get interesting. So the caliper actually does move through the disc, which is really bizarre, because that's not something that we see on most of these cars in this price range. So it's very bizarre to me why they would make it like that, and it's like that on all of the wheels. It's really bizarre to me. And this car also rides really high, so it looks like the front end lift is up, which we all know is the number one thing of supercar ownership. Do not leave your front end lift up when you park. Save us all. But anyways, yeah, very weird. It does have the Lamborghini logo. I guess it's okay in the center of the wheel, and then it doesn't say anything on the caliper. So very interesting. Not really sure why that's like that. And then the side vent down here is really exactly the same on both of the cars right there. And then the badges are interesting. This one says V12 6.2 liter. And we go to this one, and I can't exactly read that out, but I don't really know what that one says. Yeah, I don't really know. But I believe that, I mean, the badge is correct in terms of the engine, but I'm not 100% sure if it has, you know, the LP, you know, and then the horsepower, or 640 -2 or -4. I'm not really sure in terms of the Murcielago, but I'm not really sure, like, the badge, what the badge actually says. So you can let me know in the comment section below. I do apologize that I don't know what that's for. I feel like me saying that I don't know cars, but trust me, it's just that in particular that I don't really know very well. So you can let me know in the comments below. So, moving on to the back. The back is carried on the Motormax with the exact same weird block mesh thing. It's just really disgusting. It looks terrible, it feels terrible, it's really just not good. And then we have more of that mesh that is nicely integrated here, just like in the front. The taillights are pretty much exactly the same. There's not a whole lot of things that are different about them. And then the Lamborghini logo is embossed in there well. So, as I was just kind of playing around with, we do have more suspension on this model than we do on this model. This one still has some, but not a lot. This one definitely has more. And then sort of the same thing. There's slightly more on this one, and there's just a little bit on this one. So yeah, I mean, the top over here above the engine is really exactly the same. There's not a whole lot that's different about that. I will go over some of the details with the glass over this in just a minute. So, let's go ahead and open everything up. So I did have a problem with this Maisto, where sometimes when you open up the door right here, it will actually grab it with the windshield, and that's what happened on the passenger side. So the passenger side door completely dehinges for me, and I haven't been able to get it back on, which is something that you would see from the Motormax and not be surprised, but from the Maisto, I would definitely not expect it to come from there. But we do have the same number of opening parts, however. We do have the front trunk, and then I'll only open up this door, and we do have the back engine, which does open backwards, which is very cool. And then we have the same goes for this one. We have the front, which is really, really weird. I'll go over that in a minute. And then these two doors have both managed to stay up. And then the back, just like the Maisto. So, comparing the front trunk detail here for a minute. This Maisto has really not a lot to see down here, as most Maistos are like that, but it does have some sort of texture there in the bottom, just a piece of black plastic. Nothing too special, but still pretty nice. And then this one just has nothing at all down in there, which is weird, except for a tiny little bit of texturing, but not as much as the Maisto. And then this thing is really, really hard to open. Like, once you get it open like this, and then you have to, like, really, really yank it up, and then it goes back down just a little bit. Versus the flexibility of this is much, much better. And this is just quite terrible, to be honest with you. So that's expected of the Motormax. I don't really think I was, planning on it being better or the same, as you'll see throughout the rest of this video. But moving on to the engine here, this is where things get interesting. So the detail of the Maisto engine is actually really, really nice. I like how they did it. It's kind of a cheesy like brace, whatever you want to call it, on top of the engine, but it does have some depth to it, as you can see down through, and it does have lots of other intricate parts that are colored in black and silver and things. So that looks really good. I mean, it doesn't look that bad overall, and it has the little badge down there and it says Lamborghini. It really doesn't look that bad at all. And then we'll move on to the Motormax, and this just looks like really, really bad. This brace on the top here, I don't know what it's called, is just really, really poor. It does have a carbon fiber texture, though, in the whole bay, but the engine is just kind of like flush with the bottom of the engine bay, which just doesn't make any sense at all. It doesn't stand out really, and then the brace goes down here, and then there's like this gigantic gap of space. It really doesn't align very well, but it does say Lamborghini on there. But On the Maisto, they filled this all in, and here they just extended the X brace down and just made it look really, really bizarre. And then one thing I do want to talk about is this piece right here. So this is the plastic that they have underneath it, and they put texture. It's not even a texture. They put like a honeycomb pattern on it to have it try and be, you know, textured grill slash type of thing. Not really sure what they were going for, but it is exactly the same on the Maisto. However, and I just think that's interesting that it's like that. But you know, this piece is slightly better. It feels better than the Motormax does, and it opens better too. They really have struggled with their openability, if that's not really a word, but their openability problems on these cars. So the interior is probably going to be the hardest for me to do a comparison of. I'll give you a overview back to back. So right in the center, right away, you got the 6-speed gated manual transmission there. The shifter in that chrome, it looks nice. And we've got a couple of buttons colored in down there, and then up by where it says Lamborghini there in the center stack. We have our pedals down there, which are all colored, and it does say Murcielago on the door panel right there. That's really nice. And then the door panel itself has really no detail at all. It's just kind of got some weird texturing. The wheel looks decent, I guess you could say, and the gauges you really can't see with this lighting very well, but they actually are there. It's just one sticker. But the majority of the buttons in the car are colored in, and it doesn't look that bad. So let me remove the door completely, since I have that ability to do so now. And the seats are fine, I guess. And then in the center, we do have the seat belts coming off of the center, which looks pretty good, I guess. And then just some air vents and things, just pretty standard, but not horrible detail. And speaking of horrible detail, as I get this door back on, or at least attempt to, let's move on to the Motormax. So, based on what you guys just saw, you can take a look in here and see that the shifter is way taller and way skinnier, and they do have like the indents for some of the buttons down here in like the center channel console, but they're not colored in. The only buttons that are colored in are for like the radio, and that say Lamborghini there in the center. The pedals are not colored in, unlike the Maisto, and then the wheel looks decent. It doesn't look like the Maisto. Really, the Maisto looks substantially better. And then you have the gauges back in there, which I'm not even going to bother to show you because they're virtually unreadable. And then the seats look pretty much exactly the same. And there's no seatbelts because it's a Motormax, and they just, who needs seatbelts anyway, you know? So they just felt that they didn't need to include that for whatever reason. It's pretty ridiculous, but there's your interior with a more textured carbon fiber, pretty poor texture as compared to some of the other ones. But yeah, that's pretty much your overview of the two cars. So we're just going to flip them over really quickly and see what this looks like. I did forget to mention the exhausts, and the reason that I really didn't say anything is because they are literally exactly the same. In terms of this piece here, but most of the car underneath on the Maisto is colored in, and there's nothing colored in for this underneath the car, except for some of the chrome parts here for the engine detail and stuff, which you cannot see from the top of the car at all. But they did make a nice effort over at Maisto to color this in and make this stand out, whereas this is just all black and just doesn't really look too appetizing. So, I mean, that pretty much covers it for both of the cars. If you're new to collecting and things like that, or you want a cheaper car and you say, maybe, here, I can get a Pagani Zonda for, $30 on eBay or whatever, and it's a Motormax. I wonder what Motormax's quality is. It's not good. Just save yourself. Don't buy a Motormax. Really, I mean, I hate to diss on just one particular car in this whole video ranting about how bad Motormax is, but really, just don't buy yourself a Motormax. There's so many more Maistos that are awesome, and they really do make some really good cars for the money. And, they have their flaws. There's things about them that are better, things about them that are worse, But in terms of quality and overall, just an overall model, don't get a Motormax. It's just not good. The only reason I have this car is because my dad bought it for me, you know, a few years ago, and he was uneducated, and now he's educated to never buy a Motormax. Just don't. And yeah, that pretty much covers everything. It's interesting to have two Murcielagos here, and I thought that I would do a comparison finally on them too, and it serves, you know, many purposes. So hopefully you found it helpful, and if you did find it helpful, it'd mean a lot if you would go down just a little bit down there and hit that like button. And subscribe if you are new and you like videos like this, comparisons, unboxings, collection updates, reviews, all things diecast related. We have some new cars coming in the future, but probably if I were you, I wouldn't expect a video for another weekish, but always check back. Things can change very, very soon. So yeah, definitely stay tuned, and this is just a cool video idea that I had, and yeah, don't buy a Motormax is pretty much the summary of this entire video. And with this whole video out of the way, the comparison of the 1/18 scale Maisto Lamborghini Murcielago Roadster and the 1/18 scale Motormax Lamborghini Murcielago Roadster, it's the Diecast Man, signing off.